Today in the crypto space, we see a bit of green price action to the upside. Bitcoin at around 26,700 and Ethereum still hovering around that $1,600 mark. The rest of the crypto space, the altcoins are pretty much mixed with a bit of red and green, some good gainers like Altcoin, Chainlink, and a few more. In today's video, I want to talk about the general market. I want to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator, but more importantly, I want to talk about one altcoin, one project that has been looking really bullish, guys, and that project is called Kaspa. KAS is the ticker. So you know what? Let's talk about the news. Let's analyze the charts and let's strategize to capitalize. Welcome to the channel. My name is Mike and let's get right into it, guys. If you're new to the channel, welcome. On the channel, we talk about cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Ethereum, and all the altcoins, looking for opportunities. Whether we go up or down, bearish or bullish, it doesn't matter. All we want to do is stay one step ahead of the market so that we can capitalize on any of that volatility. And if you appreciate the strategy, subscribe to the channel, click that bell so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, including the live streams at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. Guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover here on the channel, feel free to let me know in the comment section below. You can hit me up on the socials. The links are in the description. And of course, guys, join that Discord. A great community, lots of good alpha trade setups, fundamentals, learning material, and all that good stuff. All right, let's begin. Let's see what's happening here with this market. Bitcoin showing a bit of strength, of course, a nice little pop to the upside for Bitcoin. The follow through of that bullish divergence that we were talking about earlier on this week or last week, and at the end of the day, this is the follow through. So we got to be very patient for Bitcoin to get overbought, get into that scenario that maybe this pump is done. So far, I still believe that potentially Bitcoin could continue to the upside in the short term. However, given the fact that it's still within somewhat of a range, kind of still going sideways, the overall momentum is strong to the upside, but not enough to push the price to those higher levels, guys. And for me, in the long run, that's a sign of weakness. You know, if we get a full reset on Bitcoin and then all of a sudden we see Bitcoin get Bitcoin momentum get bearish, it's very likely that we're going to hit those bottom levels once again. We might even break down to a much lower level. So let's keep an eye on Bitcoin and what is happening here. Of course, Bitcoin is going to make the rest of the crypto space a bit volatile, as can be seen. Look how it follows Bitcoin's lead very tightly. Look at the rest of the market. A little bit of a pop, a little bit of a dip. Exactly what Bitcoin has been doing. And a lot of these altcoins are pretty much doing a very similar thing. Double top on Polkadot. If you're interested there, that might be the setup. Solana looking pretty strong. We have Chainlink looking very strong, up 7.5%, give or take. In the last 7 days, a nice 13% pop, but I bet you Chainlink is still within range. You know what? We're going to put Chainlink link on the list for tonight. And just as a reminder, guys, if you have any projects you want me to cover, feel free to join the live stream tonight at 7:30. You make a request and I'll definitely come up with a strategy and a plan going forward for any of the projects that you're interested in, and I'll put them in top priority. But I have Chainlink to begin. We'll kind of look at Chainlink tonight, see what's going on there. It's due for an update, definitely. And speaking of due for an update, today's video is all about Kaspa. Guys, Kaspa is definitely defying gravity, doing its thing, holding up there, very strong. However, guys, in the big picture, it's quite risky right now. And we're going to talk about Kaspa very soon. First, we're going to look at the general market. We'll take a look at Bitcoin as a leading indicator. We'll kind of see what Bitcoin could be doing and how it could reflect onto the rest of the market, including Kaspa. So that's why it's kind of important for us to kind of take a look at Bitcoin as well. So we'll do that, and we can see as we scrolling down, the price action is slowly grinding to the upside, which is nice and healthy given the fact that Bitcoin is also doing the same thing. So as long as Bitcoin is upward sloping, getting its positive bounce to the upside, the rest of the crypto space will definitely follow suit and, you know, keep on grinding up. And this is what we're seeing. Arbitrum looking pretty good. Kaspa, of course, looking a little triple top heavy. Guys, this is the thing here. Is this time to get in? Is this time to go long? In my book, no. Kaspa did very well already. It could break up for another move to the upside. It could be, but you're taking a risk that this last move might be a very short-lived one or a very small one, and then get a deeper retracement, and that's where you get wrecked. So be very careful. The time to buy is usually at the bottoms, of course, when, you know, there's lots of red in the streets. Right now, it's very green, and really, it looks a bit top-heavy, in my opinion. But of course, we'll take a look at the charts to see if we can find some statistical probability of a rollover or maybe even a continuation to the upside. Okay, let's continue down. We have Aave grinding to the upside. A lot of quick little grinds up, but at the end of the day, you know, nothing major. You know, even Stacks up 5.6%, given it's part of the Bitcoin narrative. Of course, that's going to be a good thing to see Stacks follow Bitcoin, but Bitcoin currently is getting that pullback. So I expect that the rest of the market is going to be, you know, retracing ever so slightly. But what about if a continuation for Bitcoin, which is very likely, you know, based on momentum. Bitcoin is not showing any sign of weakness just yet. So I feel like we could get a continuation up, maybe even go sideways for the alts. In the meantime, Bitcoin's going to find its top, its local top in the short term, and expect that retracement back down. In my opinion, that's what we should be prepared for. In this transitionary phase, you're going to see a lot of chop sideways action. So take profits sooner than later. You know, we have a lot of time to analyze, find a nice bullish trend. I don't see it yet. So in my opinion is, if you're trading, get in, get out, and appreciate those gains as quick as possible. In fact, protect the gains. You know, that's the reality. You got to protect them. So we have a lot of these projects still grinding up, nice and green, but somewhat sideways within range. You got to admit, it's nothing crazy right now. Even Radix getting a nice pop to the upside. I like Radix. Just patient. I'm being very patient for a lot of them. As you can see, a lot of dips already still happening while still maintaining this slow grind to the upside. So the question is, how much more of a grind up do we get in the immediate short term? Or are we going to use Bitcoin as a leading indicator to kind of, you know, analyze whether Bitcoin comes down? We can see a lot of these altcoins come down with it. So of course, guys, that's what we're going to do. Consensus for me is, like, you know, it's a nice relief. It's a great relief for this market to see a bit of green finally. You know, we've been going sideways or dipping down a little bit here in the last little while. Last night, everything looked super bearish. You got to admit, the hang time was real on a lot of these projects, but all of a sudden we're getting a bit of a wake-up call, and this could be, you know, just a quick sweep of the highs, you know, a bit of a liquidity grab before we actually roll over. And that's the thing, guys. Okay, so let's begin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. I know you're here to talk about charts, so let's begin. Let's see what's going on here with Bitcoin. Bitcoin did get that little relief to the upside. We were consolidating here on the daily within this sideways little consolidation. If we get into the 4 hour, you see it a little bit better, but right below this 200 daily EMA, and all of a sudden we got that pop, we bounced to the upside, and we're now getting a bit of a rejection with that wick. So we do have a wick, we do have a, you know, a bit of a lightsaber here, and the question is, do we have enough strength to actually continue to the upside? Now, if we look at the daily, and you look at the daily oscillators, let's begin by looking at the volume. You can see clearly the volume is downward sloping, right? Lower lows, lower lows. The histogram bars are slowly tapering to the downside. While this momentum is, the price action is also coming down, grinding to the downside, and we're getting a few pops here and there upwards, which are very low volume moves. For me, that's not enough conviction. Okay, when there's low volume in a move, there's not enough conviction. Maybe there is a bit on lower time frames, but if you're looking at the daily, I don't believe in big moves right now unless I see massive volume breakouts, right? So we're looking for Bollinger Bands to squeeze with this consolidation. We're looking for an expansion phase, but we need a bit of volume to confirm that this is going to be a big move for expansion, right? Now, what I do like to see is the fact that we have that volume gap. Remember, those green arrows, we got rejected at that green arrow a lot harder than we got rejected in the past. For me, that's a sign of bearishness. That's not a sign of strength. That's a fact that right now there's a lot of conviction that we need to keep this price below. Now, if we come up back up, start knocking it a little bit more, it's very possible that we do break out. But as we speak, the data that is given to us is this huge wick, this quick reaction here, which means a lot of algorithmic sell orders were triggered at this bottom of the volume gap. Okay, so a very reactive spot. Now, if you go into the next oscillator, which is the momentum, the RSI, we see that we left this oversold condition with a nice bullish divergence. Price action was coming down, momentum is moving up, and we are still in the chop zone. Okay, we're still in the chop zone, which means that likely is that we do get more sideways price action. But what if we get a continuation to the upside? What about if the RSI gets overbought? If the RSI gets overbought, it's very likely that eventually we get into a scenario where we break to higher levels and, you know, test the $28,700 zone just below this consolidation at the top of the volume gap. You can see this gap right here. We need to fill it up and get up there if we do end up breaking out. So it's very possible that that happens, given the fact that Bitcoin may want to get overbought. And if it does get overbought, it's likely that we'll get enough strength to actually break out here and break above the 200. I think that that's the first thing. The first thing is we got to see a break above that 200. We got to close the candle up there and open the candle up there. That would be great, obviously, and then get a bit of volume that shows us conviction, and then finally blast right through this volume gap and see what happens here. If this happens, Bitcoin will drag up or basically pull up a lot of the good altcoins that, you know, a lot of us are talking about, such as Kaspa. Of course, Kaspa right now is definitely benefiting off of Bitcoin's move, right? It's definitely benefiting. Now, it is getting a bit of resistance. Now, it is at a perfect level for resistance. Does it actually break out? That's something that we got to take a look at. But a lot of the altcoins are definitely appreciating this grind to the upside that Bitcoin is providing, right? And if you look at the MACD, EMA is facing up, green histogram bars to the upside. Continuation to the upside is very possible in the immediate short term. Let's go into the 4-hour quick and we'll wrap up Bitcoin. Of course, we got a bit of a rejection. Look at this railroad track happening right here with a nice little wick at the top. That's a little bit of a bearish scenario, but we're getting a bit of support at the top of the 200 EMA here on the 4-hour and at the bottom of this little gap that we got here. So if we do get support, guys, we could get a bit of a bounce, but understand that the momentum is trying to leave the overbought scenario, which means that a full reset to oversold is very possible here. Okay, we could get a bit of data, obviously, to confirm this pivot point, you know, some sort of inverse cup and handle, an M pattern, you get what I mean, head and shoulders, something right here that could give us a little bit of an indication that we are dropping once again. But all we need sometimes is a double top with bearish divergence, which is what we don't have yet. So we need a little bit of data perhaps, or if this lightsaber on the larger time frames is enough. You know what, guys, the reality is that we are still grinding to the downside, and the MACD right now not looking the greatest, you know, a little bit hesitant, no conviction, not much strength, a little bit of sideways chop, you know, like not really an indicator that I'm, you know, interested in using right now. You can see it's not very convincing. Okay, let's put it that way. Not very convincing. So you have a choice here. Your choices are which you know, indicators am I going to use? What kind of overall conviction do I have? What's my bias? Is my bias up or down? And personally speaking, when you go on the daily, I still feel like we could produce a little bit more positive momentum. Personally, it's about a 50-50 shot that we do come down. It's possible still, but the likelihood, in my opinion, is getting overbought, and in the immediate short term, seeing a little bit of a spike to the upside. So getting into fresh shorts right now is a bit dangerous using the daily time frame. Using the 4-hour, again, it could be ready for a bit of a shorting opportunity, especially if we get a double top and look for that bearish divergence. We see Bitcoin roll over, and then you're going to see a lot of the altcoins potentially come down even harder. So that's something that we got to pay attention to, and it could be the beginning of a potential dip, big picture, even for the daily. It doesn't necessarily mean that the daily has to get overbought. Remember, sometimes, and it does happen often, where we get enough bearishness at the chop zone at the 50% mark, and we come right back down to backtest. And it means that even with the RSI, it doesn't mean that we're going to make a lower low on the momentum. It just means a higher low, fine, a higher low, but that it could also spell out a lower low on the price action. And if that does happen, expect lower lows on the Bitcoin price, guys. So I'm going to be very, look at what's happening here right now. In fact, we're breaking down slowly grinding back to the consolidation point, and this was a beautiful basic liquidity grab here at higher levels. All right, guys, let's get right into Kaspa. I know a lot of you want to get into that. Let's do it. Let's see what's going on here with Kaspa. Guys, I got into a short a couple of days ago, and I exited with a stop loss, unfortunately, but in a little bit of profit, which for me is totally fine. Okay, at least it wasn't a loss. And in hindsight, you know, I'm starting to look at it, you know, I was like, I wish I had my position still open. I wish I put my stop loss up here and, you know, weathered the storm, but at least I was able to exit and profit. And for me, this is not only a learning experience for people that are watching that are new to trading, but it's the realization even for myself that taking profit, there's there's nothing wrong with taking profits. Nothing wrong of exiting a position even with a small amount of profit. Why? Because you can use that small amount of profit for another entry with increased margin. That's the reality. Now you have a bit of a buffer because you made a bit of a profit. The question for me is, should I re-enter my long position given the fact that Bitcoin on the daily, is looking for a potential continuation to the upside? The 4-hour could get a bit of a back test to the upside and get that bearish divergence, and that means that ultimately Bitcoin might be looking for another impulsive move to the upside. If that happens, guys, you're going to expect that the alts are going to get another leg to the upside. And what does that mean for Kaspa? It means that it's very likely maybe that we get to the 1.27 extension. Guys, that would be a very bullish target given the fact that we're consolidating here after an impulsive move consolidation, and then perhaps get another impulsive move to the upside, hitting that 1.27. Guys, I will be taking profit once again. I took a profit here. That was great. And unfortunately, I only got into a very small bag right here. Very small, which is still open. I'm still holding that long position right here. And at the end of the day, getting basically taking profits for me would have to show me a big picture. I was willing to hedge against that by going short. Unfortunately, it didn't follow through, which is totally fine. But if we go here, guys, I will be taking profits 100% on this small position that I opened here, and potentially taking more profits on my short-term spots, because short-term spots, I only took 50% here. I only took 50%. I got in with a little bit more, and now I'm going to slowly start scaling out a bit more if we get to the 1.27 and the 1.618 extension levels. Guys, those are my targets if it does happen from a bullish perspective. But mind you, we got to look at this momentum here on the daily. Okay, so let's back it up. That was a very bullish, type of call. I feel like that would be a very bullish thing to see, but you can see that the momentum currently is consolidating here. Okay, we respected this trend line from these 1, 2, 3 tops, and we got a bit of a rejection here. Now we can see the momentum potentially getting a bounce right here, which is totally fine. We come back up, we kind of get a rejection, and we're going to see what kind of data this produces. It could be another bearish divergence right here. Higher highs on the price action, lower highs on the momentum, coming down to lower levels. And you can see that if it does get support here as well, we are slowly consolidating. Slowly this momentum is consolidating to the point that we might get into a chop zone for an extended period of time, which is going to be at the 50% mark of the RSI. Okay, so slowly we are contracting the momentum, and we could see the Bollinger Bands contract as well. And it's an expansion phase, and we are seeing Bitcoin do a very, very similar thing here. So this is something to consider. Okay, let's get back into the price action. A price action is going up on these two tops while the momentum is still coming down. That's class A bearish divergence, which is still intact and not invalidated by the momentum. It could get invalidated once we create a higher high on this RSI, but so far we are not invalidating that bearish divergence. In fact, if we close this position like this and we actually get that rejection, we're potentially getting a confirmation high, a lower high. Overall, that would be a very bearish type of thing. To consolidate here and roll over to the downside, for me, that would be not very strong, not a strong signal at all. Okay, so something to consider, of course, that we could be rolling over here in the short term. On the 4-hour, what's happening here on the 4-hour, we definitely came down, and this is the reason why I got into that short position. I took a bit of profits right here. This was my exit about 0.045, something like that. About there, 4.5. I posted it on the Discord, never mind. I don't even remember, but this is done. At the end of the day, this position is over with. Now, what I want to basically look at is, you can see that we are slowly downward sloping, and we did get a bit of a follow through here. We exclude the wicks. You can see that this is upward sloping price action. Okay, let me put it into a solid line. Upward slope price action excluding the wicks. You're going to have to. Okay, that's the way you find divergences. Now, if you correlate it with the momentum, it is downward sloping, both MACD and RSI. That's class A bearish divergence. Now we're getting a bit of a follow through. It is slightly a lower high with a bit of a rejection right now. And look at the momentum. It's still sloping down on the 4-hour, which leads me to believe this is still a great opportunity for a risk to reward ratio short, right? Getting still short here is not bad. We see that the momentum is looking for a full reset to oversold conditions. We see a little bearish divergence here, and we see a follow through at lower high, or even if you want to call it a triple top, guys, at the end of the day, the momentum is downward sloping here on the 4-hour, and it's very likely that we do come down. Okay, so this is the bearish scenario. And if you notice, as I'm talking talking, it's starting to look like a bit of a coin toss. However, guys, my bias is slightly to the downside. Okay, slightly, very slightly. The daily, again, coming from overbought scenario. Maybe we create that higher high, maybe not. You know what I mean? We got the green histogram bars to the downside on the daily. EMAs are still facing up though, so that's pretty bullish. Basically an indication that we could get that continuation to the upside. But the 4-hour, guys, again, I feel like this 4-hour needs a full reset to oversold conditions, and the MACD is getting that EMA cross right now for a little bit of a bounce to the upside. So really, there's a lot of mixed signals, and on the Discord, we've been calling this right now, it's getting into hard mode. Right, Cairo, it's getting into hard mode, buddy. Of course, it's very difficult because some of the momentum oscillators, some of the indicators are showing us, bullishness. Some of them are showing that divergence. The different time frames are a little bit not in unison. The overall, rhythm of this price action right now is primed to get people wrecked, right? So this for me is a scenario where maybe leverage should be discouraged. If you're looking for taking profits, that's probably the agenda that should be focused on. TPing and protecting your gains, especially if you were able to get entries down here. If we do come down to lower levels, again, that is your opportunity to be scaling up positions, buying the dip, building your portfolio for the up and coming bull run. Guys, at the end of the day, Kaspa is a very bullish project, but if you're looking at this momentum to the downside, look at this mixed signal. It's a very, very mixed signal here on the MACD and even on the RSI, and even the daily looks very confused. So you know what? What's the better option here? No trade. Sometimes no trade is the best trade. Walk away, study the charts, analyze what's happening here, let people figure it out, let them get wrecked, and then after that's all done, when you get the whipsaw price action that gets everybody deleveraged and out of the market, that's when you can get in with a bit of confidence that the overall price action will respect the TA. Right now, there's no guarantee that this TA is going to be respected, and that's why I choose to kind of step back and let the price action do its thing. We'll get back in when Kaspa shows us a signal, because right now it could be a consolidation for another leg up. It's very clear this could be a slightly like a bull flag, or maybe a rollover, given that the momentum is looking for that rollover. Okay, so that's what I got for you guys today. Join me live tonight at 7:30 Eastern, where we talk about crypto news and price action. If you have any projects that you want me to cover, that's a great time and place to get it done. If you want to follow me on the socials, the links are in the description below. Feel free to join that Discord, guys. Lots of good alpha, trade setups, fundamentals, learning material. Guys, feel free to join. Take care. Have a good one. And don't forget, buy the dip.